Evan, let's bring back our two strategists here. We have the Republican, we have the Democrat. Guys,
we're ready to spill the information.
Yeah, no wine was just spilled moments before we came back.
What's going on? I mean, have you guys seen any new results that have come in yet? What do we know so far?
Right now, Democrats are performing in these House races across the country 7.2% better than they did on average.
Does that sound like a blue wave?
Maybe
the wave is heading to shore.
Earlier, we were talking about maybe it wasn't so much of a wave.
Right.
It's very tidal and fluid.
Okay.
So
but
at
not
this
quite
point,
a wave.
How waves work.
So let me put this in perspective for folks, because I think it's hard to understand the enormity of what Democrats are doing tonight. We're looking at, to your point, 7.5, 8.5 point national lead. Republicans haven't had a lead that large nationally in 70 years.
Right.
Wasn't true in 06, wasn't true for Democrats, wasn't true in 10 for Republicans, 14 for Republicans. This is a huge margin for Democrats, and you're seeing the House pickups because of it. I mean, it's looking like Democrats will pick up at least 30 or 35 seats now, which is well more than enough than they needed. And I think what we're seeing, based on where we're picking up these seats, Oklahoma, we just picked up a House seat, 2 House seats in Kansas. We're seeing Democrats winning in places where Republicans dominated 2 years ago. And there's an obvious lesson there.
But in Ohio, just to push back slightly on that, you're seeing Mike DeWine. He just took the governor's mansion. He beat Rich Cordry. And the Republicans won the AG, the state treasurers. And Sherrod Brown, who was up by double digits in every poll, was expected to cruise to re-election. His margin with 90% in is now 4%. And that's a lot closer than it should have been. So if I'm a Republican, I'm looking, okay, what happened in Ohio and how do I replicate it in other states in 2020?
But now that Democrats will likely take control of the House, Republicans in the Senate, does this mean gridlock for the next 2 years? I mean, what does this mean as far as policy?
And look, I mean, frankly, we've had gridlock in Congress for 2 years already with Republicans.
So we've had gridlock for 4 years, really.
Yeah, a decade,
and that's what a lot of voters have been upset about for years upon years, pre-Trump even. And Democrats, the thing they're going to have to do is actually put forth real policy proposals that they have to make Republicans say no to. And it can't be extreme far left proposals. It needs to be common sense proposals that the majority of the country can get behind, that don't add to the deficit necessarily. I'm one of the few Republicans who's still a deficit hawk.
No, I agree with you there.
But if they do that and show that they're serious about governing, then you eliminate a lot of the risk of the pendulum of the electorate just being angry at Congress in general, because syphilis is a higher approval rate.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
which is true.
I believe that.
No, I think that's part of it. I mean, I think too, the disparity you're seeing between the House margins tonight and the other races down ballot, it's obvious that Democrats are winning votes in House races as being a check on this administration and holding this administration accountable in a way that they haven't been for 2 years. And so I think there's an expectation from voters that they want to, and it's not just Trump, but it's frankly the cabinet is worse when it comes to corruption, holding those
Let's
leaders.
Excuse Jim Mattis, please. Saint Mattis
holding those leaders accountable in the way they haven't been. Because that's what voters have been expecting and that they haven't gotten.
And how does this change things for Democrats going into 2020? We left on a cliffhanger about Beto O'Rourke. I think you guys disagree about whether, because I'm already seeing it in my feed, Beto O'Rourke 2020.
Alyssa Milano has said this is good that he lost because he can run for 2020. I don't think you fail up. I think you need to have, I think it's important to have somebody who, well, let's not use him as a good example of what Democrats should do. That would be bad for our political system overall. I think Democrats, if I were advising them, I would say you need to go to somebody who commands respect of the vast majority of the nation and can heal after what will be 4 years of a divided and dysfunctional government under this administration. I would personally say Joe Biden is the smartest candidate you can have, and you put somebody like Amy Klobuchar on the bottom of the ticket, because she really shined and impressed me during the Kavanaugh hearings. And she will certainly be named in any Democratic administration if she doesn't get the number 2 slot as a potential AG. I think you really need to be very careful about having too many candidates in the 2020 race, because it'll be just like what happened with us. You'll get somebody who gets the plurality of the vote and is a little too out there for the rest of the electorate, and you'll have a lot of the electorate staying
Trump
home.
will be Trump,
and Trump gets
reelected.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. I think, too, is, I mean, the challenge for Democrats, which is actually great news, but the money that's coming from the grassroots now in the Democratic Party will sustain a number of candidates pretty far into this 2020 election. I think we have a lot of great candidates who are overwhelmingly popular. I think the question heading into 2020 is, did we learn something out of tonight, which seems to be that we need to run candidates that represent their voters, and we particularly need to run candidates who represent women, who represent people of color, who represent LGBT communities. And I think we need to hear those voices in the 2020 race because that's where we've had such strong races.
Of the 19 competitive races that Democrats have won, 11 were won by women candidates. Of the 13 competitive races that Republicans have won, 2 were won by women.
I mean, Liz, this
so
is
we have a gender problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's women and millennials right now. They're the ones powering it, but there's one other group that I think we haven't talked about as much and has gone under the radar. It's women who are over 65. Normally, Republicans win the 65-plus votes. We won it in 2014 by 21 points, and in some polling on Sunday, it was down to +3. And it's really because of my grandmother, a 93-year-old woman who's a diehard Republican but hates Trump. She literally called me up, said, I've had a glass of scotch and made my decision. I'm voting for the Democratic candidate.
Wow.
Good on
That's
her.
fascinating.
It was the scotch.
I mean, we could talk for hours. We're getting cut off. But I want to go back in terms of alcohol and time. Jason, can you give us an update at the big board before we go?
I can. I've got some more polling stuff that hasn't really been reported in the mainstream media, of course. In a huge lead of ruining everyone's Tuesday is Ted Cruz. And then, of course, in the most waiting to go fishing is Paul Ryan. He took that one. Lowest glasses on nose, of course, Chuck Schumer took that one. And then most constant, I'm on a scary roller coaster face, went to Nancy Pelosi. And then, of course, in the being an actual total poll, the clear winner was, of course, Mitch McConnell. So we have all the results in there.
Well, that's amazing. Jason, thank you. Yes, we did not see that. You will not see any of this on the mainstream media. Thank you so much to Matt, Evan, to Sherm for being here all the time.
Yeah, great to be with you tonight.
And we're going to go finish up this wine, and you go, you know, you go have your party. We'll be back to our regular schedule next week, where we will be discussing the aftermath of this really historic election. See you next Thursday. Thanks for watching, and good night.
Good night, guys.